Are you someone who struggles with shin pain when running? Because if you are, first of all, don't worry. But most people have their approach when it comes to shin splints completely wrong, and it actually leads it to becoming an ongoing issue, which can stop some people from running altogether. Now, there's certain things you need to know when it comes about shin splints. You need to know A, what they are, B, why they might occur, C, which different type of shin splint you might have, and then how to treat them appropriately. But most importantly, you need to know how to try and prevent them if you can altogether. Now, luckily for you, I'm going to cover all of these things in this video to try and make your running as pain-free as possible. Right, so first of all, we really do need to address the elephant in the room, and that is, what are shin splints? Well, the term shin splints is actually a little bit of a generalization because it can be any of a few different types, and there can also be quite a lot of different causes. So first of all, I'm going to clear something up that I get asked a lot, and that is, are my shin splints a problem with my muscles or my bones? Well, it could be either, because you could have some bone stress, or you could equally have inflammation in the muscles around the shin, such as your tibialis anterior or your posterior tibialis, or even the soleus. Now, the best way to decide what type of shin splints you might have is to try and identify where the pain is coming from, because that is usually going to tell us what course of action to take, even though there is a solid course of action for all three. Now, as I just mentioned, there's three types of shin splints I'm going to talk to you about, and two of them you can group together. So, number one is anterior shin splints, which is the front of the shin. So if you've got pain on the front of the shin or your outer tibia, you might have anterior shin splints. You've got medial shin splints, which is going to be pain along the middle, but that's going to be along the inner edge of the tibia, so like middle lower type area. And this is closely linked to the last one, which is posterior shin splints, where you might have pain towards the back of the shin, but also inner lower shin, medial side type area. Now, posterior shin splints are often used quite interchangeably with medial because there's a lot of overlap anatomically there. And you might have also seen, if you've done some research online, the term medial tibial stress syndrome, which is a bit of a tongue twister, so I'm glad I've managed to get that out in one take. That's usually a term used for posterior shin splints as well. So now I've told you what these types are. If you need to go back, listen to these descriptions again and identify where the pain that you have or have had is coming from. So as I've alluded to, there's a few different workarounds you can have depending on what type of shin splints you have, but there are some overarching tactics to treat these. Now, number one is that you should never run through sharp pain. It's a logic that us runners ignore a lot, admittedly, but doing the thing that's caused you the pain in the first place is not something you should be doing to try and fix the pain. Think of it that way. As hard as it may be, trust me, you need to take 1 or 2 weeks off, okay? Secondly, if you've got posterior or medial shin splints, as I said, closely linked, you're going to want to foam roll your calves a little bit. You're going to want to release a little bit of tension here. Anterior shin splints, obviously, is going to be more of an anterior problem, so your tibialis anterior. So maybe ice it a little bit more. Regardless of what shin splint type you have, your footwear should also be decent. And what I mean by that is you're not running in Metcons, you're not running in day-to-day shoes, you're running in shoes that actually have not necessarily support, but at least a good amount of cushioning, impact reduction. And even in running shoes, there's differences for this too. A shoe like this, less cushioning, more impact. A shoe like this, more cushioning, feel less impact, but slightly less stable. So there's trade-offs. Try out different shoes if you're not sure. Go to a running shop, try them on. Get on the treadmill, get outside if they let you. Best way to do it. If you're not sure, best way to go and buy running shoes is going into a shop physically, which nowadays, unfortunately, is a little bit harder, but it's still possible. Now, a couple of little pointers if you have these certain types of shin splints. If you have anterior shin splints, if you excessively heel strike or run downhill a lot or run fast a lot, these could be causes for it. So therefore, you want to avoid these initially. Strengthening your tibialis anterior with any exercise that promotes dorsiflexion, such as the ones you're seeing on screen now, are going to help as well. And you want to run softer surfaces. If you've got medial or posterior shin splints, you want to scale back the mileage a little bit. You're also going to maybe want to use ice a bit more readily. You're definitely going to want to foam roller calves, but also, especially if you think you might have posterior shin splints, make sure your glutes and your calves are nice and strong. So you really want to make sure that you're doing your hip thrusts, your deadlifts, your calf raises, etc., etc. And that really does cover treatment for shin splints. There's not a lot. It's annoying. None of these are guaranteed to work straight away. But number one, Don't run on really painful shins. Identify what the problem might be, and then just think about how you can maybe address that. So where the pain is, match to what I said in the last section of this video to where the pain is, to the tips I've used in this section, and that's a really good place to start. Okay, so I've ran through some different ways you can treat shin splints, but you still need to know why they occur and how to prevent them if you can. So I've mentioned some very little bits that are specific to each type of shin splints to why they occur, but these are the general factors that are going to be affecting. Now, number one, and this is the reason that most people get injured when it comes to running, is a rapid increase in running volume or intensity. If your intensity and volume, so how many miles you run per week, is like this, and all of a sudden it goes like this, that's your body telling you you've gone too far. Instead of going like this, just go like this. Admittedly, that's not technical with the hand, but you get my drift, okay? So just reduce the volume a little bit, reduce the intensity. 90% of running injuries, no matter what they are caused this way by doing either too much too soon or too much too quickly, okay? Secondly, is going to be just biomechanically, so whether you've got poor footwear, so you have a lot of overpronation, or you maybe your stride length's a little too long, so you're striking a bit too much, you want to just bring your short stride length in to promote a higher cadence. Anything like this can add extra stress on your tibia. Hard running surfaces, a lot of us will run on concrete, it's high impact. Running on grass is a little bit softer. If you can run on grass temporarily while you need to fix it, or you have options to run on grass and you don't mind, then maybe go for that. And obviously if you have really tight calves or muscle imbalances, this could be an issue as well. That could not help. So there's some general factors again that might be causing your shin splints. Obviously, without knowing you personally, I can't say it's definitely this, but you probably know when I've said these things if they apply to you. Now we need to know how to prevent shin splints, and the first way is to avoid the biggest factor that I've mentioned, which is increasing running volume. So you want to follow the 10% rule that I've mentioned in the previous video about in training increases. So if I run 20 miles last week, I'm not going to run more than 22 miles this week because 10% of 20 is 2, add on 10%. That's a general rule to follow to make sure your volume doesn't increase too much. Remember, a little bit of an increase. Secondly, you want to strengthen the supporting muscles. So your glutes and calves, strong glutes, strong calves and strong hamstrings for runners are essential. Posterior chain is so important. Get your RDLs in, get your hip thrusts in, get your calf raises in. You know, squats are important as well. All of these sort of things, get them done. Make sure you've got good running shoes. As I've mentioned, you can get higher cushioned, lower cushioned shoes. Still better than any everyday shoe you're going to have. So go to a running shop, try them out, or look at reviews. There's plenty of them online nowadays. And obviously, you might not be able to avoid concrete the whole time, but you can vary your running surfaces a little bit. You can maybe have, let's say you run 3 times a week, you can run on concrete once or twice a week, have the other one on a track or a grass. A track's softer than concrete, that's way better as well. So you can think about these things just to make your life a little bit easier. And if you're thinking about this now and you haven't got shin splints, it reduces the chance of you getting shin splints in the future as well. Because whilst they're common, they are mostly preventable, they're certainly treatable, as with most running injuries. The way we treat them isn't necessarily the way we want to, but that's just the way it is. Now, that covers everything I'm going to talk through in this video. There are some technical terms a lot of you might not be familiar with, muscles like your tibialis anterior, but they're things you really need to know if you really want to get to know your shin splints. If you think I missed anything, then please, I'm not perfect, so let me know in the comments if you think I have missed anything, or if you have any other running injuries that you want me to cover going forwards. But just before you go, you might be interested in trying to improve your 5k PB, assuming you haven't got shin splints, of course. Now, if you do, then I strongly recommend you watch this video right here because that's going to help you a lot. But either way, I hope you have a great day.